Hey everybody, so I hope you're doing great, and today I'm gonna do a video on technique and bending. Best to do it on the electric guitar. This is the one that we use bends the most effectively. And if you really want this class, which you probably do because bend is very important and people really like it, hyper used, leave the like at the beginning. Subscribe because I'm gonna be posting videos weekly on Saturdays on more technique. And before that, before we start the class, you probably want to check some other videos after this one, or even before. So it's gonna be very useful that you check out slide class on the cards and also legato class, because all those techniques, legatos, slides, bends, they play the same notes and the same solos, except that you play the notes differently. You can bend a note, you can slide a note, you can do a note using legato, not a note, but the notes you're playing, two notes, let's say. So you probably want to check those videos out. You're probably interested in more technique. But without further ado, let's just start. So first thing you want to know is that in terms of bends, what is a bend? A bend is playing a note, but then you want to reach another note, and you're gonna reach it the most flow, continuous way possible, which is without breaking the sound. So you're gonna play, let's say, this note, which is on the 5th fret in the 3rd string, and you want to reach the notes not on the 5th fret but on the 7th, and you don't want to break the sound, you want to make it continuous. So what you do is you hit with a pick on the first note and then you bend it. So I'm gonna bend the string until I get to the note on the 7th fret. This is the 5th fret and this is the 7th fret, right? So that the same thing that I could do a slide, a legato, I can also do a bend, right? Except that bends usually sound better and people like it more for whatever reason. Most likely because it feels like a human voice. We don't have a broken voice. We do a continuous sound. It's probably it looks more expressive, and that's usually when you bend up, which is from the 5th note to the 7th fret. It feels like it's a human being making some effort, and that brings expression. The solo is not the same at all if you don't have bends. Just try and imagine the best solos you think of. They probably have bends, and if you take the bends out, they're not as emotive. And the question is, what are the kinds of bends? Because maybe there's not only one kind of bend, and how to do it. So first off, I have to divide bends into bend up and bend down. And well, we can say that a bend can be up or down, just in the sense of when you're doing the bend to reach the next note, do you bend the string up or down, right? Simple as that. You can do both, right? The detail is, if you are playing the 1st string or the 6th string, you don't have much of a choice, because if you're playing, let's say, 6th string, then you can't bend it up, because then you're gonna get out of the arm of the guitar. That's not effective, so you need to bend down. Whereas on the 5th string, it's the opposite. You can't bend down, otherwise that's a whole different thing, right? It's a kind of a legato. You will need to bend up. That's the only way you can bend it. It's up. So that's the detail, bending up or down. Another detail, I'm gonna get there, but I just did half tone bend. So I just bent from the 5th fret to the 6th, right? But it's an option. I'm gonna get there. We're still on bending up or down, right? And but I could also say bend up or down in terms of the frequency of the note you're playing. You can play a higher pitch note or a lower pitch note. So what I mean by that, you may want to start playing the 5th fret and then reach the 7th, so you're going up in terms of pitch, and you're playing the lowest pitch note first, then reaching a higher note, right? But I could do the opposite, which is very charming, people use a lot in solos. So I can do the opposite. I can start with the 7th fret note, then go to the 5th. Now how do you do it? Well, you start on the note you want to finish at, and I want to finish at the 5th fret, and you bend it up. You're gonna play it bent until you produce the sound of the 7th fret, right? So you're gonna start on the 7th fret sound, but because you're bending it, and then you release it, which that's the technical name. It's a release kind of bend. So how do you do it? I start on the 7th fret sound, this note, but here, bent, and then I release it. When I release it, I rest on the final note, which is the 5th fret note that I wanted, and I successfully went from the 7th fret note to the 5th fret, right? So you start up, and then you go back, and you can do that, doing the bend, but pulling the string downwards too. So I could start here, It's also gotta be in tune, of course. So you need to adjust how much you pull the string, so that the bend doesn't sound off, because you don't have a point of reference, right? So you just need to listen to when you're bending and adjust until you find it is in tune. It helps a lot to play the note you want to reach. In this case, this is the 7th note. Then try and get the same sound, but doing the bending, right? Right, and you can do that on the down bend too, which is what you were doing. Another detail that is very important if you want to have a complete understanding of bend, you can bend with eventually almost any finger, basically. Of course the thumb is behind the neck, but you can bend with any of the 4 fingers. It's tough to do with the pinky finger because it's too weak, but you can technically do it. Except that if you're bending with the 4th finger, almost certainly you need to use the other fingers to support it, right? But let's not start with the pinky. Let's start with the index. It looks very beginner to do that with the index. Not in a pejorative sense, but almost like, why would you do it with the index finger if you can do it with better positions, right? Well, you could do that with index finger, or with the middle finger. And notice that if I'm doing the bend with the middle finger, then I can use the 1st finger to support it. So, I put the 1st finger behind the 2nd finger, the middle finger, and basically both of them are bending, not only the middle finger but also the index finger, right? So you can do that. You can do that with the 3rd finger too. 3rd finger bends up, and the other 2 fingers, the middle finger and the index finger, support it, which in my opinion is the best position, right? Because you have the max amount of fingers, and you're not using the pinky because it's too weak, right? So you do that with the 3rd finger. That's great, right? So you can use any of the 4 fingers. I would advise you to do it with the 2nd or the 3rd finger, either the middle finger or the 3rd finger, but you choose it, right? So those are also possibilities. And by the way, the advantage of using the 3rd finger is also because you can produce leverage, which is what I'm going to be talking about right now. So when you're bending, you can't bend, well, it's more tough to bend in a classical position, which is like the middle finger right in the middle of the neck behind it, Then all the other fingers are, you know, almost forming a sphere, and then you just position the fingers as if they wanna pierce the guitar and so on. That's a tough position to maintain. You know, it's very formal, but not the biggest strength you can get. So what you mostly want to do, and that's what people do a lot in blues especially, but in rock, the best technique possible executed in terms of bend, what you do is you close the distance between your hand and the neck. So you're not gonna be like that. You're not gonna be like that with a lot of space, you know. You close the distance. Let me just change the position a little bit. You close the distance between your hand and the neck, right? You can even pull the thumb more so up, as much as you can, depending on the size of your hand. But like, you close the distance so that you're really like grabbing the neck of the guitar. And then what you do is also, you're gonna use leverage, which is what I was gonna talk about in using the third finger. You produce leverage. You're not gonna do the bending like vertically. Using the back of your third finger to produce the up strength. No, what you do is you produce an angle on the third finger. Let's say you were using the third finger, and your third finger is not gonna be exactly, you know, piercing the guitar. If you want to do the bend up, for instance, then you're gonna point the third finger on the same direction, upwards, right? Because then you can, you know, have the third finger in the same direction you wanna hold the string. That's much more effective, right? So you close the distance first of all. Then let's say here is the third finger, and let's also say you're trying to bend up. You produce the angle so that your finger is more in the direction that you want, which is up. And then when you bend, you produce leverage. What I mean by leverage, it's that your hand and your elbow, they're both gonna rotate, right? So you're gonna produce almost like a rotating strength to twist the finger, to twist the string and pull it upwards, right? You're gonna feel it's much easier. Like, it's much more of a robust movement, you know, and that facilitates a lot your bending. It's gonna be effortless. You don't feel hand pain, right? So that's how you do it. See, I close the distance with the hand, and I mostly rotate. I'm rotating. It doesn't look like it. I'm doing that. See the third finger? That's what I'm doing. Rotating. See how the thumb is even up here to close the distance? So that's how you make the movement more robust, more massive, let's say, more dense, and that facilitates a lot the technique. So now you're fully prepared to do bends. You know how to bend the next note, how to bend the previous note, how to bend, you know, pulling the string up and down. You can bend with any finger. You know the technique to make it easier, to have a stronger, you know, string pull, and that's all. Then you can do classic things like simply bending up, or doing those, you know, you can do the classic I mean, there's many riffs. I'm trying to remember as many as I can. People do this riff a lot too. Okay, anyways, that's it for today. I was just testing with some riffs, and that's pretty much it. You can apply that technique to anything, basically any solos. Most of the solos, you're gonna really like to use it. I think it's hard to not get addicted to bends. So if you've liked the class and you've liked bends and you're gonna use it definitely a lot, then don't forget about the like, as I said. Subscribe to stay tuned, and I see you on the next week.